Hey guys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Real quick little update. Actually, this isn't an update. This is almost like a poll, but I'm not going to post a poll. It just popped into my head. I figured I'd do a real quick video and base my decision off of the comments that you guys leave me. Everybody knows with my garden experiment that I was doing, I'm trying to find different ways to produce food at my place throughout the winter. And you guys know I love experiments. And, you know, I get a lot of really good information from the experiments that I do. And I've gotten a lot of I've gotten so many emails from people talking about some of the stuff that I did with my disaster of a container garden. I mean, it really was a disaster, but I learned a lot of really good information that I'll be able to put into use this next year and this winter. That's the reason I did it the way I did it, was to learn and to go ahead and throw as many curveballs at myself and at the food and my plants as I possibly could, so they wouldn't catch me off guard at it, you know, in the middle of the winter when there's nothing I can do about it. So what I have done has inspired people to do what I'm doing, and it's really awesome getting those emails. And I can't tell you guys how much I appreciate those emails. Those are just awesome. I really appreciate it. But what I've done a lot of research, and I plan on growing inside. Everyone knows that. I'm going to build an herb wall in my kitchen, and I'm going to do hydroponics, a rail system mounted on the wall in the kitchen, you know, with thyme and parsley and things like that, just growing right there on the wall. Number one, it's going to look good. Number two, it's going to smell good. And number three, I'll have fresh herbs, you know, easy to grow. They don't require a whole lot of light, and they'll get, you know, plenty of ambient sunlight through the windows. But I can also just throw a little grow light up there if I need to. Not a big deal. But what I'm going to do in the basement, you know, I had said many times before, I'm bringing the containers inside the basement, and I'm doing this and that and the other. But I just realized something. Well, not realized, I've learned it from watching some other channels, and I would love to be throwing out channel names, but when I get into YouTube surfing mode on a topic, I'll type in a topic in the search bar and I'll watch multiple videos from multiple different channels, and I am not organized enough to write down all these different channel names, so I'll just keep it vague, but I will give as many props as I can. This is not my idea, or the idea maybe, but the information that I got did not come out of my brain, okay? Several different channels were talking about growing inside, and the things that you need to worry about are, number one, you're bringing in an aerobic material, i.e. soil, dirt, that is alive, and it has microbes, and it has bacteria, and it has animals, and it has all kinds of insects, larvae, and stuff growing in it, and you're bringing that into your house. Now you're in danger of bringing all these different bugs and stuff inside your house, these different gnats and things that live on the mold and the bacteria and stuff that grow in the dirt, and you know, that are going to be trying to munch on your fruits and your veggies and stuff like that. So unless you have a really awesome method for, you know, dealing with pests inside your home, you know, you might not want to do that. And then we're talking about, you know, you need sterilized soil. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that route because I'm using rabbit manure. So yeah, that's not going to work. So what I have decided to do, I am still growing inside, okay? But, and a lot of you know, if you tell me that I can't do something, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to figure out a way to do it that shows you that you were wrong, because I don't believe that us as a species with this massive brain that we got in our head is set there to play. I mean, it's not there and capable of learning just so we can play Candy Crush, you know, 24 hours a day. No, it's there so we can problem solve and figure ways to do things that we want to do. So I don't care who says you can't grow in the house in the wintertime. I'm going to do it, so it is what it is. What I've decided to do is I am going to shift to hydroponic growing in a soilless medium. So it's just going to be the water inside. That way, it's still an aerobic. It's still aerobic. It's water. It's basically, you know, it's good stuff, but it's not a medium for, you know, insects and stuff like that to grow. Now the plants themselves may draw some insects, but being hydroponics and being that I grew aquaponics, and you have to grow those things without pesticides, I do have some experience dealing with the bugs and the things like that. But we are talking winter, so it's going to be a lot easier to control. And you know, I'm not going into full production trying to feed the neighborhood. I'm running through it this winter just to make sure that I can produce it, and I can always scale it up if I need to. So the basement is going to have a little hydro garden. It'll probably have, maybe 1 or 2 tomato plants. I'm going to rock and roll all my peppers inside. I've got a couple of banana peppers just starting, one that's flowering now, one that will be in a few weeks. And I'm going to try to run those peppers. I'm going to fool them into thinking inside is outside and it's the summertime. So I'm wanting them to produce throughout the winter. And then the plant that I'm overwintering will pick up when they drop off in the spring. So I'm definitely going to do potatoes inside. I'm definitely going to do tomatoes, peppers, lettuces, things like that. The potatoes, I'm really kind of concerned, kind of not, because I'm going to figure it out because the containers are pretty large. My sweet potatoes should be ready end of November, beginning to middle of December. So what I'm going to do for the potatoes, I was going to bring them in, but then again, we're talking soil, we're talking rabbit manure, and we're talking insects. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to go full creative redneck on this, and I'm just going to build me a little frame, a little mini greenhouse frame, probably out of PVC or something, and I'm going to wrap it in plastic, and I'm just going to cover the containers outside. And hopefully they should be able to retain their own heat. The great part is, and this is where a light bulb went off in my head, I have rabbit manure, a lot of it mixed into the soil. So there's going to be decomposition going on. There's going to be a breakdown in the soil, and it's going to be producing heat. So I'm thinking if I just cover the container with the potatoes in it, that it's going to produce enough heat with the little greenhouse cover over it to keep those potatoes nice and warm throughout the winter. Y'all keep your fingers crossed. This is another experiment. I don't know how many this is I'm doing, but I think it's going to work, and I think it's going to work really, really well. Here's the great part. If it works for the potatoes, then yes, that means that using the manure in with the soil and wrapping it in plastic through the winter, it will probably work for tomatoes and several other things. So I can basically have little mini greenhouses without having to build the greenhouse. But there is a little voice inside my head saying, man, just go ahead and get the PVC pipe and build you a little hoop house out back. I am thinking about doing that. I would have already done it, except for everybody, you guys have seen my property. It's nothing but trees. I'm covered with trees. I get, very little, like most of the stuff I'm growing doesn't even get direct sunlight for several hours during the day. And I know that has affected the growth quite a bit. But my issue with the greenhouse is there's a lot of falling limbs and pine needles and pine cones and things like that that would very easily puncture the greenhouse plastic. So without, going through and chopping down trees and getting rid of branches, I'm going to have to find a way to protect the greenhouse. So what I'm thinking about doing is either spending some extra money and getting those poly panels that are kind of expensive and just put those on the roof so they can withstand the limbs and the pine cones. That, or maybe just building the greenhouse and then wrapping the outside on the outside of the plastic with some chicken wire or something that will sort of deflect most of the big debris from popping the plastic. I know it's going to get popped regardless. So there'll be a lot of little pieces of not duct tape, but the see-through greenhouse tape covering the holes. But it'll be a learning experience. That is something down the road. But just the update was basically to let you guys know that I am still gonna grow inside, but I'm gonna shift it to the hydro and do it inside in the basement and in the kitchen. And that's gonna be a really, really interesting build for the hydroponics. I've already got one pump, but it's a bigger pump. It's for the aquaponics for the fish. So I'm gonna get a couple of smaller pumps for the aquaponic or for the hydroponics. Or I may even get creative and do a time release drip. I know it sounds kind of weird, but you really don't have to have a pump if you just have a big bucket full of the solution high up enough and you have a little hole where there's just a steady drip running and just let gravity do the work. Yes, you will have to go into the basement once, maybe twice a day and, dump more, get the solution from the bucket on the bottom and pour it back in the bucket on the top to let gravity do the work. But the thing is, those small pumps, they cost like $12. So I may just go and get the small pump for that and do the build. So you guys stay tuned for that. But if you want to, just tell me your thoughts in the comments. Do you think it's a good idea to not do soil inside, just do hydro and leave the soil outside? so I don't have the potential insect problems? Or do you think that it's a stupid worry and just go ahead and do the dirt inside and hope and keep your fingers crossed that your house doesn't get infested with, you know, insects and bugs and gnats in January and February? So you guys in the comments, let me know what you think. Hydro, soil, inside, yes or no. Have a good one, folks. We'll talk to you later.